ever experienced a large equestrian event in a foreign country or even in Europe? Hi, my name is April. I'm an equestrian. I own an online equine inspired business, and today I wanted to talk about my experience at Americana. Americana is a show that happens every other year in Germany. I don't even know, I think it was supposed to happen in 2020, so I'm not sure if it actually happened because we left before the show was actually supposed to happen, and I probably can guarantee it didn't happen if it was supposed to, but it might have been on the odd year, so it might happen in 2021. But this show is more kind of like Western themed, so they have the reining, they have the cutting, they do the freestyle, they do the cow work and the cutting. So that's kind of why I think they call it Americana. I signed up to go because I was actually talking to a gal that her family owned this reining barn, and it was right down the road from where I lived. I had taken a couple of lessons from her and done a trail ride with her at her barn, and she was actually a really fantastic reiner, and she was actually competing at this show. And because it only happens every other year, which is kind of a common thing in Germany, I think they have why can't I think of that name? Equitana too, and Equitana is only every other year as well in Germany, and that's a huge event too. So I think it's kind of a common thing to happen with Germany. So when I heard about the event was coming, I of course wanted to go, and it was really cool because the barn that, like I was saying, that I was riding at, did some trails. The daughter was actually competing at the show, but I think her family also owned like this bus company, or the buses were allowed to park at her barn, and it was easy to put together like a little trip if they wanted to go, because I can't remember the city that it was in, but it was about 2-hour drive, especially with the bus. Things were a little bit slower. So we just met them early in the morning. It was her mom that was on the bus because she was already there at the competition. We met early that morning. There was a couple other people that ended up going to the show. We stopped a couple other places to pick up people. So we had I think the bus was probably at least halfway full, if not more. And we just, they had a lot of seminars, just kind of like another horse, it was like a horse expo in a way, but also still having a show and competition. The biggest difference about Americana is that they have vendors. And now I'm thinking, at the horse expos, we have vendors too. It gets a little crowded, there's a lot of people around you, but you can probably still walk at least halfway comfortably, or you can get to where you want to go comfortably. At Americana, it was so tight. There were so many people in this area. You were inching the whole time you wanted to go anywhere. If you saw something at the end of the hallway, you probably were going to take forever just to get there. It was just packed, completely packed. Tons of Western gear, and because it was a Western themed show. They had lots of American flag items, so scarves, horse saddle pads. I think even on their bridles they had an American flag. My husband and I had to almost take a breath a few times because there was just so many people. We would actually go outside of the event and kind of just take a breather. But what was cool, right outside in the middle of all the different arenas, was actually 3 different places you could eat at, and they were all looked like saloons. So they had the saloon swinging doors and everything. They had the country music playing. You totally felt it was almost hard to believe that we're in Germany and where all this is happening, but then you'd hear Germans start to talk, and you're like, okay, now I remember I'm still in Germany. But because we definitely wanted to see a show that was happening later that day. Before I move on, I want to know, have you gone to a different event in Europe? I know they have, the big events that happen cross country in Europe. They have the big London show. I don't know. Have you attended any of those shows? Let me know in the comments below. And before I move on, make sure you hit that like button so I know you like these videos and I'll keep making them. So one really cool thing that happened at this show, I knew that the Kimes Jeans owners, Amanda Kimes and her husband, were going to be at this particular show. Like, what? Like, how, like, this American brand that I've supported a lot. I think I had only just purchased my first pair of Kimes jeans because that was my reward to myself. I had lost so much weight and I wanted to support like an American business. So when I found, because I followed them, because at that time it was Snapchat. I had followed her on Snapchat and she was talking about her experiences with traveling to Germany to go to the show. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to the show. I wonder if they're going to be there. And she would post like where they were going to be. Like there was 2 different sections that they could possibly be at. And I get nervous like at vendors. Like I don't like, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to talk to them. They're just going to swarm on me, or I don't know. I just get weird about it. So going to vendors and such is weird for me. I know I'm weird like that. But it was so cool because we saw them at the one vendor spot that they were going to be at. And I was too shy to say anything. And I was like, ah. But I think I noticed she had looked at my purse and that had said something because it was like a purse that I had gotten in Texas or in Las Vegas when we went to the NFR. And I noticed she had seen it and pointed at it. And then I was like, okay, let's just go do something else. And they'll be here all day. We'll catch up with them or something. So then we actually went, there was, like I said, tons of things going on. Later on, we decided to go to the other place that they were going to, a different booth. And there wasn't many people around because at the previous one, they were helping people and such. So I didn't want to interrupt them. That was another reason. But they weren't helping anyone at that time. So I actually introduced myself and said I had watched on Snapchat that they were going to be there, that we were actually Americans and that we were just stationed there. So we talked a lot, and it was really great to actually get to meet Amanda. I believe we took a selfie together. I might even pop it up here. And then they shared it on their social media like the next day. So it was really cool because like it's just a small world. And my husband's like, every time we go somewhere, you at least know one person or like know of somebody. So it was just a really cool experience to like know that I knew somebody that was there, or like knew of somebody that was there, and got to talk with them, and they were like the sweetest people ever. So that was really neat. And then after that, it was getting closer to the end of the day, and right before we left, there was a huge event, and it was the cutting event. And oh my gosh, guys, like you think Americans can cheer for reiners and they can cheer for cutters, but let me tell you, Italians are loud, and like we know Italians are loud, and that's fine. But when they are cheering for some cutting horses and like their teammates, whoa, that arena was popping. And like going to any event in Europe, especially of a horse event, there's the stands are way more crowded than you'll ever see in America. Even for a Western event, like even like the freestyle where the stands do kind of fill up. No, this was like packed again, and the Italians are just, oh my gosh, hooting and hollering and just really getting after it. And it was just so much fun. There was a couple of Germans, of course, and you know, they were cheering and stuff too, but when the Italians would go, it was just such a cool experience to witness all that. And because a lot of people that were there didn't really understand cutting and such, they would explain it. And we actually had a few Germans that were on the bus with us that were super nice, and they would actually translate it for us a little bit. So, but because, I mean, cutting is cutting in any world, but it is interesting. I did go to a different event in Germany, and they were using like dairy cows that were older and fatter and didn't want to really move. So that was an entertaining show. But at this Americana, they were really good cows. And I know the Germans are very strict on some of the things that you can do with cattle. So cutting can be sometimes interesting with the requirements and restrictions. So, but it was, like I said, it was really one of the coolest experiences. And in between rides and such, because sometimes I think they had a couple reiners that came out that had won some things and they got to show off. In between, like the little intermission, they actually had a band that would play in, why can't I think? Oh, the band would play bluegrass, and you could have sworn these guys were from like Nashville or the Blue Ridge Mountains, because they sounded so American and so legit. And then they would start, as soon as they were done, they would get on the mic and start talking to the rest of the crowd, and they were speaking German. And it was like, wait, are they American or German? But they were German, but they were singing American songs in English, and they were just like amazing. They were absolutely amazing. It was just such a surreal moment sometimes. Like sometimes you felt like you were back in the States, and then sometimes you're like, wait, I'm in the States, but I'm in Germany. So it was a really cool experience to go and do that, and I'm really happy we went and did that. Got to meet Americana and her husband. It was just, oh, and it was funny because it's like right around my birthday too. You'll probably see another video I did like on like California Park, where it was like right around my birthday. So another reason to go and do something fun and have and experience it. So, and one of the cool little treats you could get there it's like, man, what is potato in German? Coughlin spiral. So it was like a potato spiral that went up, and it was like kind of fried. So it was like almost like chips, but a little softer than chips, and it was in a spiral. So that was really cool. I think that was our first time eating that. You can see it often at some of the places and events they have, but that was our first time trying it there. And yeah, it was just a really fun way to experience an event, a Western event in Germany. If you want to see some of my other travel videos or horse adventures, make sure you check out them in the description below. I also have some cards going across the screen, so you can see plenty of those videos, because I have tons of them. I have a lot more to go and put out there, and I post new videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of these videos coming out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.